The billionaire's voice thundered through the fancy restaurant, making every spoon pause midair. But no one expected the waitress's calm response to turn the entire room silent. It was a rainy Tuesday night when Veronica stepped into her shift. At Elysian Table, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, the kind of place where meals cost more than her rent, and customers expected smiles with perfection. At 24, she'd seen enough entitled guests to last a lifetime. But nothing prepared her for Mr. Carson Hale, a name whispered in boardrooms and business schools alike. He walked in with his usual swagger, his presence demanding attention before a single word left his mouth. Billionaire, media mogul, known for firing executives on a whim and humiliating staff for sport. Veronica knew she had to serve his table. Everything went smoothly at first. She took their orders, brought their wine, and even remembered Mr. Hale's preference for lemon wedges without seeds. But when she returned with his filet mignon, the mood shifted. "This is not medium rare," he barked, slamming the plate on the table so hard it rattled the glasses. "I'm sorry, sir," Veronica said calmly, already reaching to replace it. But he wasn't done. "You think you can serve me this?" he sneered, voice rising. "I pay thousands to eat here, not be treated like some college student at a diner." The entire restaurant froze, forks hovered, heads turned, whispers started. Veronica stood still. Her cheeks burned, but her eyes didn't flinch. She took a slow breath and replied, her voice steady, clear, and shockingly soft. "I treat everyone with respect, Mr. Hale, whether they're eating a sandwich or a steak. You're welcome to do the same." The room went silent. Even the pianist missed a note. Mr. Hale blinked, stunned. Veronica didn't wait for a response. She gently picked up the plate, turned, and walked away with quiet dignity. She didn't know it yet, but in that moment, something deep inside Carson Hale had shifted. Veronica disappeared into the kitchen, her hands trembling slightly as she set the plate down. The head chef looked at her, eyes wide, but she just nodded once, composed, focused. She didn't want pity or drama. She just wanted to finish her shift and get home. Meanwhile, at table 6, Mr. Carson Hale sat oddly quiet. His entourage avoided eye contact, unsure of what to say. This was a man known for commanding rooms, not getting put in his place by a waitress half his age. But instead of getting angrier, his fingers lightly tapped the polished wood of the table, lost in thought. A memory flashed in his mind, something buried deep, years ago, before the yachts and buildings and headlines. He was just Carson, a broke college dropout working night shifts at a small-town diner. One cold night, he dropped a tray of food on a businessman in a tailored suit. The man had stood up, red-faced, and shouted in front of the entire restaurant. Carson hadn't even gotten the chance to apologize. He remembered how he'd stared at the floor that night, fists clenched, face burning in shame. How that one moment had fueled his hunger to never be powerless again. And now here he was, doing the same thing to someone else. A strange heaviness settled over him. 15 minutes later, Veronica returned to the table with a new plate, placing it gently in front of him. "Medium rare," she said softly. No sarcasm, no bitterness, just professional grace. He stared at her for a second too long. "Thank you," he said, and meant it. That evening, Carson didn't yell again. He ate quietly. He watched her move through the restaurant, handling other tables with care. She didn't even glance his way again. But he noticed something else. The way her shoes were worn, the frayed edge of her apron, the extra slices of bread she snuck to the kitchen boy who probably hadn't eaten. When he asked the manager about her, he learned Veronica was working 2 jobs and studying nursing at night, that she sent money to her younger brother, that she never missed a shift. Carson Hale didn't leave a tip when he got up to go. He left a sealed envelope with her name on it, and quietly walked out the door. Veronica found the envelope after clearing the table. Her name was handwritten in clean, sharp lettering. At first she assumed it was a customer complaint. Her stomach dropped, but when she opened it, the air froze around her. Inside was a cashier's check. Not a $100, not even $1,000, $50,000. She blinked, rubbed her eyes, read it again. No note, no explanation, just her name and the money that could erase years of struggle. She ran to the manager, heart pounding. Did Mr. Hale say anything when he left? The manager shook his head. He just smiled and said the food was great. Veronica was speechless. She looked around the restaurant as if expecting him to still be there. But the billionaire was gone, left without applause, without witnesses. Just one silent act that changed her life. Later that night, she sat in her tiny apartment, the check resting on the table next to her student loans, overdue bills, and a worn-out nursing textbook. She called her brother and cried, not out of despair, but relief. Meanwhile, across town, Carson Hale sat alone in his penthouse. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about profit margins or stock prices. He was remembering what it felt like to be humiliated, and what it meant to choose dignity over pride. He wasn't used to silence after speaking. But that night Veronica's one sentence had echoed louder than any applause. She hadn't argued. She hadn't retaliated. She had simply spoken a truth he couldn't ignore, and somehow, that truth had cut deeper than anything money ever could. Months later, the bell over the diner's door jingled again. Veronica turned, wiping her hands on her apron, only to freeze. It was him, Carson Hale, back in his crisp black suit, but this time different, softer. He held no phone, no urgency, just a small envelope, and a quiet smile. I never got to thank you, he said. Veronica blinked. For what? For reminding me that people still speak from the heart. He handed her the envelope and left without waiting for a reply. Inside wasn't a check this time. It was a letter. Dear Veronica, in my world, power silences people. But you didn't flinch. That one sentence changed something in me. I've started a foundation, the Veronica Grant Initiative, for women like you who give everything, even when the world gives them little in return. I hope you'll lead it. Her knees nearly gave out. Veronica, the waitress, once silenced by circumstance, was now being offered a seat at a table she never thought she'd reach. Weeks later, the world would learn her name, not as a waitress, but as a voice of dignity, compassion, and resilience. And every time someone asked Carson Hale why he chose her, he would simply say, because when the room went quiet, she was the only one brave enough to speak.